What's up guys, Houndish here, and today I wanted to jump in and talk about secrets in Season of Plunder. This season has a couple of interesting events lined up, so today I wanted to talk about upcoming quests, a hidden future mission with an exotic reward, and obviously spoiler alerts are needed for this video, although there won't be any mind-blowing story related things. We're going to cover some upcoming rewards, a community quest, plus Festival of the Lost for the year, which holds a hidden weapon, and there are other possible weapon patterns for future as well. So we've got loads to talk about in the video guys. As always, I hope you enjoy this one, but without further delay, let's get into it. The first thing I wanted to talk about today are some bits of content related to Season of Plunder, as there are some interesting objectives coming up. And so looking at rewards in the game on light.gg, here there's an exotic ship called Generation's Shadow. Kind of an interesting ship right there. And one of the curious things is that the source is a Season of Plunder triumph. But looking in the triumphs in the database currently, there isn't anything that lists this as a reward. So it's possible that the triumph itself is hidden and associated with some upcoming content. Speaking of upcoming content, there's another item that essentially kind of belongs in this same set of cosmetics, and this is the Swashbuckler Shell. One of the interesting things I noticed about the source for this one is that it comes from a Rising Tide, which is an upcoming mission. And I can't find any information about the mission itself, but there's a tracker here for that activity, which counts the total number of captain's coins donated to the Eliksni quarter during a Rising Tide in Season of Plunder. And obviously, as far as we know, that's not something we can do at the moment, but it is possibly connected to an upcoming community event of some sort. And so again, looking on Light.gg, there's a section under the season's triumphs called Community Event. Two of those triumphs are actually classified, but one of them, the Eliksni Inspector, requires us to investigate each of the Eliksni Quarter improvements. And so it seems likely that this probably is linked to the captain's coins that we'll need to donate in the Eliksni Quarter, and the so-called Rising Tide mission will begin the process of actually assisting the Fallen to improve the Eliksni Quarter. And as we've seen, there are some specific rewards linked to that. So I'd be curious to get any thoughts you may have about it down below. There are some other hidden items in the game at the moment, currently listed as dummy items in the database, but they come with a series of unique icons. And they're the same icons typically associated with vendors and vendor inventories. And so as far as we know, the green icon here is associated with the vendor, and then the blue icons that we can see look to be objectives or nodes on that vendor. That's all we currently know about these interesting items, but again, looking at what appears to be a seasonal event, it's possible that a vendor here could be linked to that. As for when it will happen, obviously this isn't confirmed by Bungie, it's not on a seasonal roadmap because we don't have one, so bear in mind nothing is guaranteed, and we'll simply have to wait and see. Should mention here though that another exotic which is basically in that set of 3 cosmetics is the Charge of Light Sparrow, and that comes from the Cryptic Quatrains quests this season, which is a series of quests with various hidden locations that will be led to, and I'll link a video from my buddy Jarv down below if you need any assistance completing that one. Either way, Season of Plunder certainly has some interesting tricks up its sleeve, and it'll be cool to check those out later in the season. Next though, to talk about Festival of the Lost, another event for this season. Obviously this comes in the form of a more typical season event, and once again Bungie let us vote for which armor set will be featured for the event, and we chose the Team Mech armor set. It'd be cool to finally see that in game once it's released. But it appears there's another item which could be kind of themed around this as well. And so here we have an unnamed sniper rifle. The main icon for the weapon is hidden, and that's why it has this pink placeholder, but it does have the Festival of the Lost watermark on it. And then by using Light.gg to view it in 3D, we can see a really cool sniper rifle right there cosmetically, and it appears to have the same sort of style as that Mech armor. And so Festival will get a unique weapon this season, and the sniper itself is aggressive frame with arc damage. But also it has a new origin trait called Search Party, and the weapon is granted faster aim down sight speed and movement while aiming down sights when no allies are near. So that could be an interesting one. We can see it can roll things like Clown Cartridge, No Distractions, Snapshot, Triple Tap, and then in its second slot, Vorpal Weapon, Opening Shot, Moving Target, and the new perk Slick Draw, which significantly increases handling and decreases target acquisition. So it could be an interesting one to check out once the event drops. As always, Festival will come with new masks, and we can see a quick list here of some of the ones that we're going to spot. They're not visible in game and there aren't any thumbnail previews for them yet, but they can be viewed in 3D on Light.gg once again. So initially we have the Finch mask right here, showing some love to the Thronewell Ghost. There will also be a Star Horse mask, and of course these are presented in the typical kind of paper mask style. Some other curious ones include a Telesto mask, which isn't a literal Telesto, but has some similar geometry, and of course the colours there. And then we've got the Bread mask, which is literally a loaf of bread. and the Blueberry mask as well. So there are some interesting comedic masks this year. But like other events recently, Festival will get an event card. We don't know all of the details about the items inside of that card yet, but there will once again be an upgraded version that can be bought to get access to some other cosmetics. And that will include the Retrograde Tora, an exotic ship. Can't get full previews of them just yet, but there'll also be a ghost shell, the Caramel Apple Shell, and a unique shader called Flower Child. And otherwise, for activities and things like that, we'll have to wait until we get more info on Festival a little later on. An unrelated, potentially interesting item though, is another shader listed as exotic. This happened back in Witch Queen, I believe. And then we believe that shader was actually finally released, but as a legendary. So it will be interesting to see whether an actual exotic shader will be on the card sometime in the future. Another curious thing though, is that the database lists weapon patterns for some of the opulent weapons that we didn't actually get last season. So that includes Gold Tusk. These are the 3 class swords that once dropped from Menagerie. Additionally, Throne Cleaver is listed, and Death's Razor. Updated versions of the weapons themselves aren't currently in the database, but strangely, it does look like the skins on the weapons was reworked a little bit. So I'm not sure if these are leftovers from previous season, or whether Bungie plan to introduce them at some point in the future. They've certainly had part of the work done, so it's possible that we're going to get them, although once again we will have to wait to find out. My only final mention right here is for items that come from Kingsfall. We haven't been able to view these in normal collections or on the database, but now the raid's dropped. Despite the fact that they're still classified in the database, you can actually view them on the badge in game. So there are initially all of the weapons, but then you get the additional cosmetic items, things like the Sparrow. Obviously these were items that weren't available in D1. There's also the ossified Skycarver, a new ship for the raid. So worth a cheeky look in there if you want a preview of some of those items before they come up on databases. And of course, once that does happen, we'll more easily be able to see all of the potential perk rolls without having to rely on having enough red border weapons to craft them. However, all of that will be revealed fairly shortly, I'd imagine. For this video though, guys, that is everything we have to break down. So as always, I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, a rating below really does help us out. And also feel free to give us any thoughts on the upcoming content this season, any loot that you're excited to go after, and all that good stuff down in the comments section. Plus, feel free to get subscribed and I'll keep you posted with more Destiny content. But otherwise, I appreciate you tuning in, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.
Sorry, getting a little swept up in all this adventuring.